Her name was Carly, and she was getting married. But instead of cheers and excitement, all she got was silence, awkward, deafening silence. Every time she brought up her wedding, a cloud seemed to descend over her friends and family. It wasn't just a lack of enthusiasm, it was a palpable sense of dread. And the more she tried to ignore it, the louder the silence became. Why was no one happy for her? The answer, as it turned out, was written all over her ridiculous, sad, and frankly, insulting wedding plans. Carly's dream wedding wasn't exactly what you'd call a dream. First, the venue, a public park pavilion. Not a beautiful, manicured garden pavilion, but the kind with concrete floors, sticky picnic tables, and a questionable smell lingering from last weekend's barbecue. Her guests, she announced proudly, would be sitting on splintery benches. As for the dress code, well, there wasn't one. Which sounds casual and fun, until you realize you lines be attending a wedding where some guests are in sundresses and others are in cargo shorts they've owned since college. Then came the food. Carly decided a potluck was the way to go. It's more personal, she chirped. Personal for her, maybe? For her guests, it meant they were now responsible for catering her wedding for free. She even had the audacity to create a sign-up sheet to avoid duplicates, as if she were organizing a church social, not the most important day of her life. Imagine being asked to haul a giant tray of lasagna across town for the privilege of watching your friend get married under a pavilion that likely had graffiti on it. The real kicker, the detail that made everyone's jaws collectively drop, was the wishing well. Instead of a gift registry, Carly was simply asking for cash. But it wasn't just a simple request. She specified that guests should contribute to their honeymoon fund, a luxurious, all-inclusive trip to a 5-star resort in the Maldives. The irony was so thick you could cut it with a knife. She was asking her friends and family, who were already providing the food and sitting on uncomfortable benches, to fund a lavish vacation that she herself wasn't willing to pay for. The message was clear: my comfort is paramount, yours is an afterthought. Her friends tried to gently intervene. One friend, Sarah, took her out for coffee. Carly, she began cautiously, have you thought about how much work a potluck is for everyone? Maybe we could look at some affordable catering options. Carly just smiled, a tight, dismissive smile. Oh, don't be silly, everyone loves to share their favorite dish. It's more community-oriented. Another friend, Mark, asked about the honeymoon. The Maldives? Heart, that's amazing. Are you and Tom saving up for it? Carly's response was breezy. Oh, we're hoping our guests will get us there. It's our biggest wish. Each conversation was like hitting a brick wall. Carly was completely oblivious, wrapped up in her own version of reality where a potluck in a grimy park was charming and asking for thousands of dollars in cash was endearing. The silence from her loved ones wasn't just about the terrible wedding plans. It was a symptom of a much deeper problem, a problem that had a name: Tom, her fiancé. Tom was the architect of this disaster. He was the one who whispered these brilliant money-saving ideas into her ear. He called it being fiscally responsible, but everyone else called it being cheap and manipulative. Tom had a way of framing things that made Carly feel like she was the smart one, the one who was hacking the system. Why pay for a fancy venue when the park is free? He'd say. Why pay a caterer when our friends love to cook? Each suggestion was a subtle erosion of Carly's own desires, replaced by his. Her friends had seen the red flags for years. They saw how Tom discouraged her from applying for promotions at work, telling her she was distressed already. They saw how he isolated her from friends he didn't approve of, calling them bad influences. He was a master of passive control, chipping away at her confidence, until she became completely dependent on his approval. The wedding was just the final, public display of his influence. It wasn't a celebration of their love. It was a celebration of his control over her. The potluck wasn't about community. It was about him not wanting to spend money. The park pavilion wasn't about rustic charm. It was about him refusing to pay for a real venue. The cash grab for the honeymoon wasn't a wishing well. It was a demand, a way to get a luxury vacation without spending a dime of his own money. He had convinced Carly that this pathetic excuse for a wedding was her idea, her dream. Carly's maid of honor, her sister Jessica, decided she couldn't stay silent any longer. She found Carly one evening, addressing wedding invitations that looked like they'd been designed on a 1998 computer. Jessica took a deep breath. "Carly, we need to talk, not about the wedding." "About Tom." Carly's face immediately hardened. "What about him? Don't you start, too?" Jessica pushed on. "Do you remember when you wanted to go back to school to get your master's degree? You were so excited, then Tom said it was too expensive, and you dropped it. Do you remember when you wanted to adopt that dog from the shelter? Tom said it was too much responsibility, and you didn't." Jessica listed example after example of Carly's dreams being quietly extinguished by Tom's practical advice. "This wedding, Carly, this isn't you, this is him, all of it. The cheap venue, the potluck, asking our parents and friends for money so he can go on a fancy vacation. When did you stop having your own dreams?" Tears began to well up in Carly's eyes. For the first time, the pieces started to click into place. The silence from her friends wasn't judgment, it was concern. The awkward conversations weren't about her wedding plans. They were about her. They saw what she had refused to see. She was disappearing. She was becoming a supporting character in her own life story. The conversation with Jessica was the crack in the dam. Carly started to look back, not with Tom's voice in her head, but with her own. She remembered her dream of a small, intimate wedding at a beautiful vineyard, with dancing under the stars. She remembered wanting a dress with intricate lace, not the cheap online knockoff Tom had convinced her was just as good. She remembered wanting a wedding that was a gift to her guests, a thank you for their love and support, not a burden. The next day, Carly told Tom she was having second thoughts. His reaction was exactly what Jessica had predicted. He didn't ask what was wrong. He didn't try to comfort her. He got angry. He accused her of being ungrateful, of listening to her jealous friends. He told her she was ruining everything. But this time, his words didn't work. The spell was broken. She saw him not as a fiancé, but as a controller. Carly called off the wedding. The relief she felt was immediate and overwhelming. It was like taking a breath of fresh air after being underwater for years. She sent a group text to her friends and family, simply saying, "The wedding is off. I'm so sorry, and I love you all." The replies came pouring in, not with questions or judgment, but with unwavering support. "We're here for you, whatever you need. So proud of you." The silence was finally broken, replaced by the sounds of love and true friendship. The journey ahead wasn't easy. Carly had to rebuild her life and her confidence. She started going to therapy to understand the patterns of control and to rediscover the person she was before Tom. She reconnected with her friends, not as a bride-to-be, but as Carly. They went hiking, had game nights, and just talked for hours. A year later, Carly did go to a vineyard, not for a wedding, but with her sister and a few close friends. They shared a beautiful meal, they drank good wine, and they danced under the stars. She was wearing a simple, beautiful dress she'd bought for herself. She was laughing, truly laughing, for the first time in a long time. There was no potluck, no wishing well, no splintery benches. There was just joy, freedom, and the promise of a future that was entirely her own. Her happily ever after didn't come from a wedding, but from walking away from the wrong one. Thank you for watching. If you or someone you know is in a difficult relationship, please know that help is available. We'll leave some resources in the description below. Remember to take care of yourselves, and we'll see you in the next video.